Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is another day that ends in Y, and therefore, of course, criminality, chaos, and absolute disruption and corruption within the South African political landscape is on the menu. And I, as your faithful and oftentimes a bit beaten down chef, is happy to provide you with the meal. Today's meal is not quite gourmet. It's not the 5-star that I served up earlier today. This, I would say, is more like a bit like a McDonald's meal. So the PA, after getting fed up with watching the DA and the ANC dance in the limelight, and also Washington, D.C. wanting to crash the party, said, hold up, we think we require some media coverage as well. And so, purely by happenstance, Kenny Kunene was found at the house of Katiso Molefi. Yeah, that Katiso Molefi, the guy that is on the hook for murdering a bunch of political opponents after they blew the whistle on some very shady stuff that happened at Transnet, and specifically tenders with Transnet. Kenny Kunene faces probe after he was found at murder-accused home. He was there as the raid was going on. Now, Kenny claims that he was just at the house because he was setting up an interview with his own media company, and that this has nothing to do with him. He doesn't even know the guy. He did hand over his phone to prove to the police that he has had no previous contact with Katiso, but fundamentally, the PA decided to suspend him. Actually, I'm lying. Sorry, excuse me. We don't suspend political people embroiled in criminality and corruption charges. No. We put them on special leave. You know, when you and I were to, say, for example, steal at work, or let's say we break a bunch of stuff, we don't get special leave. We get fired. If you're a politician in South Africa, you get special leave. That means you get paid. You don't lose any of your perks, but you get to take a holiday. That's effectively what it is. It's effectively as effective. Wow, that's a lot of effectives in one sentence. As a Twitch ban. But ultimately, the Patriotic Alliance put him on special leave for 30 days and then said that they will investigate him. And they're going to find lawyers who are in good standing to investigate him, and it's going to take 30 days. Most investigations don't just take 30 days. So if you're just going to do an investigation for 30 days, you're effectively going to ask them to look very broad stroke, maybe Google him and see what Wikipedia has to say. And if he's not guilty, let's go. McKenzie had the following to say: I believe Kenny 100%. I can't expect everyone to believe him. Hence, we are launching a full investigation to prove what we know, which is that he is innocent. That's, generally speaking, not how you want to enter into such an investigation. You don't want to enter into it saying, well, we know he's innocent, and therefore we're going to prove it. You want to enter it as neutral as possible, saying we don't know if he's innocent or not, and we're going to allow the investigators to go wherever they need to go to prove to us whether he's guilty or not. That's the whole point. You presume innocence, but you still try and prove guilt, because that's the right way to do it. Not in South Africa. In South Africa, you're innocent until proven guilty, and then you're still innocent. Don't know. Become a politician. You can never go to jail in South Africa. Now, the problem, of course, with Kenny Kunene is that this isn't the first time. This dude has already spent time in jail for fraud. He was let out and then claims that he has been reformed. The same is true for Gayton McKenzie, who is the leader of the Patriotic Alliance. Again, a man who served time in jail and then got his jail sentence reduced after being a gang member for, I believe, the 26th or the 27th. I'm sort of sketchy on the details there, because he's been involved in a lot of problems. So let's just quickly look at Wikipedia here. This is Gayton McKenzie. There's alleged corruption. In 2022, the Central Karoo District Municipality, where Gayton was the mayor, they raised $3 million for service delivery at a gala dinner, and they later decided, no, the money that they raised wasn't for service delivery, it was just a donation to the Patriotic Alliance, which is kind of weird. You're going to this gala dinner because you want to help out the Central Karoo District Municipality, and then the party says, well, actually, thanks for the dono, we'll just use that for our election. But never you mind, that case is still ongoing because, of course, politicians, they get to have these criminal cases that go on for decades. Gang ties, so Gayton McKenzie, it is 26s, but there's also another bit of controversy that seems to suggest that maybe the daughter of the 27th gang boss, William Red Stevens, she may actually be funding the Patriotic Alliance, although he has denied all of those allegations. Kenny Kunene, his past is just as embroiled. My problem with all of this is that it is very rare for criminals to actually be reformed, and especially here, allegedly. And everything I'm about to say, I have no proof for, and I'm not suggesting that this is absolutely the truth. But when I listened, prior to Gayton McKenzie becoming the Minister of Sport, when I listened to Gayton McKenzie and I listened to his life story as told by him, what I found, at least what I felt at the time, was a man who was part of a gang, went to jail, decided in jail that he doesn't like this lifestyle. He likes the money and the power that comes from crime, but he doesn't like constantly going to jail over it. So instead, he saw an opportunity to gain even more power, more money, and this time don't have to go to jail by basically ratting out the criminals, getting out, starting a bunch of businesses. First, of course, doing the whole motivational speaker thing, because that's a good one. Writing a couple of books, another great way to make a good, decent amount of money very quickly. And then, in order to ensure that you will never spend a day in prison, you go into politics. Because, again, why not? This is South Africa. It's sort of a requirement. This is why John Steenhuisen can never be the president of South Africa. He's not been in jail yet. You need to be a criminal if you want to be a South African politician and you want to reach the upper echelons of South African society. Now, I'm not suggesting that Molefi, or I'm not suggesting that Kunene is guilty, right? We don't know. The problem is that even looking into this case, looking at what the police may or may not have, the details are very scant. What the police have is Kunene was at the house of Molefi at the time of the raid, and this to them appeared suspicious. Everything else, there is no other pieces of information or evidence that connects Kunene to Molefi prior to this fortuitous occasion. All I know is that if I look at the track record of the PA, from the very first time that the PA started to gain traction and started to win, not win elections, but get to the point where they were almost kingmakers in elections, they have never shown themselves to be a party of principles. In fact, Gayton McKenzie himself doesn't put much stock in principles. He believes in power, and he believes that you should do anything in your power to get power. I can't trust someone like that to not also break the law when that is within your power to do in order to get even more power. Some principles are required. This is one of the reasons I do not hold back on the DA when the DA plays political games. I'm sorry, I realize that as South Africans, probably not even just South Africans, I think all people in the world, there's this famous old saying where people will say, oh, that's just politics. If any other normal human being acted like a politician, you would cut them out of your life. But because it's a politician, people are just willing to go, well, that's just politics. If a politician tells you, I'll do all of these things for you, and then they don't do any of them, you just go, wow, it's politics. What are you going to do, right? I'm sick and tired of that. I don't want to run defense for you just playing political games. If you don't want to be held to a certain standard, then don't set that standard for yourself. Someone last night in the comment section on my video about John Steenhuisen said, hey, the DA is just playing the bigger game. I don't care. 3 weeks ago, the DA said that they will not vote for any of the budgets until Ramaphosa gets rid of all of the corrupt ministers in cabinet. Otherwise, they just will not vote for those budgets of the corrupt ministers. And then yesterday, the DA goes, well, he fired one and that's good enough for us. That signals to me that you have zero principles. What that means to me is that I can't trust anything you say, because it means that you will betray those principles, those promises that you made to me, when and if it's politically expedient for you to do so. So how can I trust anything you say? Right? And I think South Africans need to learn this. We cannot continue doing this. We cannot continue to give our politicians free rein to basically just spew nonsense to win elections and then go off and do their own thing later down the line. What the DA should have done is they should never have made that promise in the first place 3 weeks ago if they didn't want to be held to it. And when you have these politicians like Gayton McKenzie, who was part of gangs, was convicted for armed robbery, probably killed people as well at some point, right? When you have people like Gayton McKenzie as the political leader of the PA, you have him show a track record of having zero principles and basically just going wherever the power is. Even now, in the government of national unity, at times where Cyril Ramaphosa has acted directly against the interests of ordinary South Africans, Gayton McKenzie has been eerily silent on these things, almost as if to say, guys, I have my power now. I'm not going to make waves. I don't want to be kicked out here. And of course, he's in a much more precarious position than John Steenhuisen because the ANC could just kick him out and then he'd be done and the ANC would still be in government because without all of the other parties, they're not needed, right? It's just the DA that's required. So the DA can be a little bit more loose with what they do. Even then, I find him to be a man lacking in principle and backbone. I'm sorry, I believe in grace. I'm a Christian. I myself am only here today because of the grace of God. I cannot claim to be here because I'm a good man. I am not. My past is very, very checkered, very, very bad. I've done some really bad things in my life, not murder or steal or anything like that, but bad stuff, sins and stuff. So I believe in grace and I believe in affording people grace. But then I need to see the fruits of your life, right? I need to see that your life now shows the fruits of a man reformed. Kenny Kunene is a man that has ties to the criminal underworld, at least used to have, right? Spent time in jail for fraud, lives an incredibly extravagant lifestyle, putting on massive parties, spending crazy amounts of money. And this is a politician. Those lifestyles cost money. Politics pays well, but it doesn't pay that well. Unless, of course, you're in South Africa and you can dip your hand into the cookie jar, in which case it pays very well. And that is the problem. If you like what I do and you like rational and honest conversation, then hit the like button, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and consider subscribing because it does help out. Then a massive shout out to all of the members and the patrons of this channel. To become a member, simply click the join button down below this video or hit the link in the description down below to become a patron where you get to watch all videos ad-free. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, see you in the next one. Peace.